The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. And do we have a show for you today?
Wow, yeah, do we? We had so much going on at the council meeting. I'm surprised. I'm glad that you got your sight back, CJ, after sticking pins in your eyes all night.
Yeah, I was still talking about it this morning. I was still talking about it this morning.
You're still plucking the pins out, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we have to start with Commander COVID, though. That's important.
Exactly. Total cases in Massachusetts is 105,986. New cases was 203. Total deaths is 8,125, with new deaths being 10. Bristol County has 8,527 cases of COVID. Fall River has 1,658 positive cases of COVID, up 13 from yesterday. Luckily, we have had no more fatalities to report, which brings us to 111 deaths. So it makes for an interesting time, that's for sure. The numbers are starting to, again, fluctuate up and down. So we're going to see what happens here.
Yes, and now let us go to the city council meeting. There was a little bit of everything: comedy, fireworks, everything. So.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to do is during the city council meeting last night, and the reason why I want to do this first is because we have absolute proof positive. John Perry turned around and said that the city no longer provides recycling services for Doolin apartments. The city that about a year ago, John Perry had said that was a pilot program. Well, if they're no longer providing recycling services for Doolin apartments, why are they showing? I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see the screen or not. There you go. That is a Doolin apartment building, and there's a Fall River recycling bin. There's another Doolin apartment building with a Fall River recycling bin. There's yet another Doolin apartment building with no recycling bin. And another one with recycling bins. Can you believe this? And John Perry turned around and said very clearly that we're not providing those services anymore to the housing authority. Well, we always say to you, you're being lied to, City Council. Proof positive. Proof positive. And I want to thank Nikki Medeiros for these pictures. She went out last night and got them right after the City Council meeting. So that tells you how dedicated people are on getting the truth out to you in Fall River. So, Mr. Mayor, so City Council, take that one. That's a lie. Sent to the City Council last night. We've just proved it, proof positive, that the City Council is being lied to by the administration or its representatives. There it is. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, kudos to Nikki for going out there and having enough interest in the community and in the truth to go out there and actually bring back proof positive, which will unfortunately probably be ignored. But that's the reality. The reality is that, listen, and frankly, look, if the housing authority wants trash pickup, let's give it to them as long as they pay, because we're always looking at a bill from the Republic and everything else, and all the other bills we're getting from the Easy and whatever. That trash has become a nightmare. It's become a pile of trash. When we privatize anything, it always ends up as we predicted this would end up becoming a boondoggle, and it is. But as you said, the the misrepresentations go on and on and on. And it's not only that, it's the mischaracterizations. Yesterday, I heard that Mary Sahadi said that she was talking about something about a transfer that I guess it was classified healthcare, and she said contrary to what some people say, and I don't know what some people she was referring to, but if it was me, you're full of crap, because I never said. They said there's more to it than just the healthcare premium. Nobody is more aware of that than I am, Mary. I knew that before you did, a long time before you did, because all you ever did was count the beans. We have our group insurance plan also includes life insurance and a whole bunch of other things. Just like our health care is extended to people who do not work for the city, which I've always had a problem with, like the Housing Authority and BCTC and the RDA and things like this. So we have retirement benefits and stuff that you complain about all the time, yet you people overburden all of those things by putting in people who are not city employees, and then the entire city and all its taxpayers have to really absorb the burden. And while we're on that, she also made a statement that, we don't need a forensic audit. The only thing forensic audits deal with is fraud. Well, you don't think fraud's like a big deal? Well, it is. But what she was doing was what she's best at, giving you a half truth, like 8%, but I didn't add how much money we get put back into the system, which brings it down to 5.7. Well, she said it's about fraud. But listen, I'm not even going to, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read it. I don't know if you just tell me if my picture stays on the screen. Am I still? Yeah, I'm still there. Okay. Okay, I sent this fundamentally to some counselors. I'm going to send it to all the counselors, and this is what I wrote. Another half-truth to fit the narrative. The term fraud is used in a forensic. The term fraud, as used in a forensic audit, can and often does lead to legal actions for corruption, malfeasance, and a myriad of others that result. Just fraud is not just fraud, or as a former mayor and district attorney stated, it also looks for criminal or improper fiduciary behavior. Just a part of the areas they can go into are shown in the following definition. Specific areas can be targeted as needed. That speak to malfeasance, violation of statutory regulations in bidding, etc. They are opposed to a forensic audit because they frankly fear the outcome may expose their lack of fiduciary responsibility on the full budget, not just in the health care. Ernst & Young exposed, quote, recreations and reconciliations rather than audits, checks illegally backdated to previous fiscal years, massive money transfers being made without the knowledge of where the money was going. The arbitrator's award began with the statement, it's a paraphrase, there is no dispute that the city's finances are in a total state of disarray. We still are 30 years later in dire need of a true forensic audit by an independent, nationally recognized firm. If they are so confident that all is well, they should welcome a full and independent forensic audit. If it truly is, we are all winners. The citizens and taxpayers will know their money, where their money is, and it's present and accounted for, so to speak. Then we can disagree only on how it's spent, not on what we have to spend. So then I go on to define a forensic audit, and it talks about some of the things that it deals with. Conflicts of interest, we've seen numerous one of the things, bribery, extortion, we've seen all that in the city of Fall River. Asset misappropriation, which we see very often, and then in parentheses I put my little comment, underfunding contractual obligations and overfunding to hide money. That's just where you go, you direct them to. And financial statement fraud, which we see that all the time. So I want to clarify something for everybody about a forensic audit. A forensic audit is not a criminal charge. It's an audit that will determine if people are acting legally and within their obligation as a fiduciary or a city official. Forensic audits are used as evidence. That's the reason they're afraid of it. That's the reason that Sam Sutter didn't want a forensic audit, because he started running around yelling, "That's criminal, that's criminal." That's right. Forensic auditors are not only auditors, they have a background in criminality and the criminal law and interpretations of how certain behaviors within the spending of a city or a company's money are not proper. And public officials can be prosecuted for malfeasance because it's their obligation to work on our behalf. And they also have a fiduciary legal responsibility to spend our money properly and prudently. And I've given that definition before. So let's make something perfectly clear. That was trying to basically say, a forensic audit won't find anything. Well, guess what? As I said, if they find nothing, okay. If they find out that nobody's acted improperly, which I would bet anybody that wants to bet that we will find improprieties like they did in 90, like they did in 08. You know, you can't not convince me that we're handling our money properly when they actually said at the meeting they found money. You can't find money. It's there. If you audited it and you knew where the money was, it was there. We don't have money the money that we have in the city doesn't have children. And we find it. I believe the mayor said that. They were combing over it and finding all this money. This is what they do at the end of every year. It's called free cash. And Mary Sahadi made a little comment about, that, there's more to the healthcare. And that's right. If you want true transparency, they should all be mocked. That transfer should have been clear that it was coming from money recouped from settlements. Just as when something goes in front, it should be earmarked. This is a healthcare premium issue. This is a life insurance issue. There's no transparency in our budget, never has been, and there should be. So this whole thing is, again, an exercise in half-truths and shams. It's pretty sad. So go ahead, CJ. That was my rant, because nothing disturbs me more when they continue to perpetuate their lies.
It seems like it's very futile around here because we constantly bring these things up. The city council ignores us. The mayor ignores us. And people just don't understand what's going on. And, they called out social media last night and blamed social media for everything. They said that it was because of social media that the stories going out that we're defunding police. I never said that they were defunding police. I never said that. I said in my story in the Weekend Flush, and I'm bringing it up right now because I want to quote myself perfectly, believe it or not, that what was happening with the money was what happens at the end of every year. I said, when you don't use it, it rolls over into free cash. But again, people don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They read the headline and they didn't read the rest of it, And I put here, oddly enough, the mayor is asking the city council to transfer $220,000 from the police department salaries to the community maintenance expense account. Here we are having a press conference speaking about the need for more help, that we call out federal agencies, but we transfer police salary money to community maintenance. How will that decrease crime? According to reports, the mayor has stated that the police department had extra money in the police overtime budget. I took the mayor's words. Is that overtime the line item or part of the line item of the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost? That overtime appropriation could potentially hire 1 or 2 more police officers. It is time for the police department allocations to be reviewed and adjusted accordingly. Maybe it is time that the city get all private entities to pay for their own police protection that are for events and special occasions. Bars, clubs, restaurants must pay for detail coverage. Why not things like religious feasts? I would ask that the city council review the police overtime budget and cut from the budget this same $280,000 as it is extra money that is obviously not needed, although it is claimed to be because of COVID-19 and the lack of police officers going to court. It still seems to be sending mixed messages to the people. And that's what happened with this. Mixed messages were sent. But let's make it perfectly clear. At the end of the year, which the fiscal year ends in Fall River on June 30th, unspent monies roll over into free cash. They don't roll over into next year's budget. And the city council cannot, which they were looking at doing, saying we want this $280,000 to go from here to here this year. No, it doesn't work that way. They can make a request that when it's certified as free cash, that money go back to the police department and go in there. But it doesn't mean that request is going to be approved. That's going to be left to the discretion of the mayor. The other thing is, as you were talking about the insurance claims, Mary Zahadi made it very clear that it wasn't health insurance claims. Okay, but she didn't make that clear when the transfer was being requested.
Nobody said it was.
Right.
Nobody said it was.
And the problem is that it came from settlements. It came from workers' compensation settlements. So instead of putting insurance there, she should have put insurance workers' compensation or insurance workers' comp settlements. Make it clear to the public, make it clear to the city council what this money is being used for. Because the first thing they're going to do when they get insurance is they're going to jump to the health insurance accounts. Because that has been one of the biggest problems this city has had for a long time. This is unfair to the people, Ms. Zahadi, and you are the cause of it. Because you are not being as transparent as possible. Because you clustered all of that under one big umbrella of insurance. And I understand there's lots of insurances under that. Okay? But people want transparency. They want to know where their money is going. It's not anyone else's money, but our money.
Listen, the budget should not be a document that you need a decoder to figure out. This is a budget like our household budget. We don't have magic money. And the characterizations that are being used now are gross mischaracterizations. What's being done at the end of the fiscal year is has been done for years at the end of the fiscal year. They take all the unexpended salaries. They take all these things that came in, like settlements, and they certify them as free cash. And it goes into a big pot. And this is the problem. But there's no transparency. They should all be there so we can see where we had and why those excesses came. Is it overtaxation? Is it a unique circumstance like the COVID virus prevented police officers to go to court to testify? But you see, we went through a transition of chiefs here. And what bothers me is that if we were running over $200,000 in excess in the overtime account, with all the problems and all the crimes we've had in Fall River, that overtime budget should have been utilized. It was appropriated for this fiscal year. I'm sure we could have used a few police officers on the street. I'm not saying, because I understand, contrary to what people try to say, we're not aware, but I'm very aware because I negotiated. I know the ramifications are of hiring somebody, the benefit levels, the health care, especially the health care premium, because the city pays 75%. And that's the reason they reduced numbers in departments to save the health care. They'd rather pay overtime. So you had overtime money. So why didn't they move to put a few more police officers on the street? Instead of having a one-man car, have a two-man car in high crime areas. Why didn't they do something like that? And I understand the police department really, I don't know, they were in a transitional flux state. One police chief stepped down. They had a temporary chief, and he went to now we have a permanent chief. But See, these are the kind of things that you have to question. I want more police protection. I'm not a defund police guy. Nobody knows how much we need police in this city. I've worked with them for 38 years. You know, I know the job they do, and I have the utmost respect because 99.9% of the police officers are there putting their life on the line every day and doing a good job in trying to do and protect the community. So, but this stuff disturbs me. These half truths and this lumping everything in. Remember, in 1990, when they lost that suit, we did have a forensic audit of the fundamentally a forensic audit of just the healthcare piece, and they found all these improprieties. The city promised to streamline their record keeping and their budgets. They were supposed to. I think at the time that we did it, they had 24 different accounts for healthcare. And frankly, I don't know how many accounts they have now. I've asked that question numerous times and never got an answer. But the reality is they should be going there with as much information as possible. That's what they get paid for. Not give a half an answer so then you can retract it later and try to cover your flank because you got trapped in a lie. Like, oh, we're not doing it at Housing Authority anymore. Then somebody takes pictures. Bang, see you later. But that's the problem. The problem is that should have been, okay, this is money. This money came from overtime, and how that overtime, why we saved money. Did we have fewer people calling sick? It's also some of it because police officers didn't go to court. That stuff should be broken down, and it is broken down in many cities. As I said, if you go to the Newton budget, you'll see a list of everything they're going to do for that fiscal year and everything they did in the previous fiscal year. And if they didn't do anything that was in last year's budget and didn't get accomplished, there had to be a reason why it didn't get accomplished. See, then you can have a little confidence in what's going on in the city. Like I said, if they really want to prove their point, have a forensic audit. And then if Mary Zahadi has not done anything wrong or anybody else, there's no checks backdated, there's nothing, everything fell within the parameters of the law. We can't find any shenanigans. We might even, if they do a forensic audit, find out how the 22 windows took place, how we went from an $8 million surplus to a $4.7 million. A forensic audit might reveal all that. Maybe it might even help. But the thing is, we're not doing this because we like to do it. We're doing this because we have to do it. And we have to do it because it's our tax money. And our city is falling apart around our ears. And we see the council continually to accept less than the full picture. Well,
you're right. And what's very interesting is that it's the same thing over and over again. And we just keep hearing the same line of bull from the same people to different people. It's the same circus, different clowns. That's all it is. And that's the sad part about it. Before we run out of time, because we've got about 5 minutes left. About 5 minutes left. The Senate passed in secret almost a bill, Senate 2800, which had to do with police reform. Now, get this, that this is for the committee. This was by Senate number 2800, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. For the committee, Michael J. Roderick signed it, which is our state senator. The Committee on Senate Ways and Means, to whom was referred the House bill relative to host community agreements, House number 4398, reported in part a bill to reform police standards and shift resources to build a more equitable, fair, and just Commonwealth that values Black lives and communities of color. Senate number 2800, also based on Senate number 1367, 2469, and 1052. They passed this at 4 o'clock in the morning, after hours of debate, but no public hearing. Now, here's one of the key components of this bill that they get you. And I believe it's under Section 10, paragraph C. In an action under this section, qualified immunity shall not apply to claims for monetary damages except upon a finding that at the time of the conduct complained of occurred, no reasonable defendant could have had reason to believe that such conduct would be violating the law. This is baloney. This is taking away the qualified immunity that police have, and that can be rolled over into fire, nurses, people who are acting on the streets to perform CPR. You break a rib, hey, I'm going to sue you. Okay? Oh, you gave me Narcan. I wanted to die. I'm going to sue you. This is what's going to happen. The Good Samaritan law is going to go out the window. Lawsuits are going to be piling up. Police are going to be afraid to do the job, and nobody's going to want to become a police officer. Nobody's going to want to work in public safety because of this bill that Senator Michael Rodrigues passed secretly, basically in secret at 4 a.m. in the morning by a vote of 30-7, almost along party lines. So I have no respect for that whatsoever. None. And I'm sure the police department and the fire department, I've already read letters from them that strike down this law, that vilify it, that vilify the people who passed it. And I think it's time that the people realize it's time for Senator Michael Rodrigues to go bye-bye. It's a shame nobody's running against him this year because it's time for him to go bye-bye.
Well, this is a travesty. Without any hesitation, it's a travesty because you read that to me and it talked about how they want to go on record as saying that black lives and people of color's lives matter. Well, does that mean that the state didn't actually value those lives before? That our senators and our representatives not value those lives before? Because it seems to me like a knee-jerk reaction to kind of say, well, we're gonna reaffirm, we really do care about you. Well, you should have cared in the first place. This law does nothing but make it more difficult to have a society of law and order. As you said, there are going to be lawsuits up the kazoo, and the sad reality is that all lives matter to police officers and firefighters. When someone's in a burning building, firefighters go into rescue, regardless of race, color, creed, ethnic origin. They are equal opportunity public safety officers. I never saw a police officer or a firefighter ask what color, what religion, or what ethnicity was for a person in trouble. That's their job. They sign on for that. I've attended far too many firefighter deaths and the funerals that ensued and police officer deaths in my career. And those men put their life on the line for people regardless of their race, color, and creed. Are there people who don't do the job the correct way? Yeah, in every profession. There are racist, right-wing carpenters.
We're kind of out of time.
I promise.
We're kind of out of time.
When you say my Rodrigues, tell them, shame on you, buddy.
I want to thank everyone for
watching. Shame
on
you.
I want to thank everyone for watching. It's great to have you and have us in your home. I appreciate it. Be safe, be angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching.